Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel, or to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Ivy. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you aren't new here, you know that one of my biggest reading goals this year is to decrease my physical TBR. So why I have accumulated so many books in the first quarter of this year, I do not know. I definitely need to chill out. We have 17 books to go through today. I absolutely cannot do this through the rest of the year. That would be what, like almost like over 60 books? Too many. So I definitely need to chill out and start reading either at a quicker pace or start unhauling some books that I don't have as much interest in. But let's go through the books that I have kind of accumulated in the first quarter of this year. I think I might try to do these quarterly if I do accumulate enough for a haul. If not, maybe I'll do like another one in like November or something. Hopefully, like I said, we don't accumulate this much. So let's get started. So the first book I got this year, I actually found in a little free library. This is The Name of the Wind. I forget where I was seeing this, probably like TikTok or Instagram or something. Obviously, this is like a huge fantasy book. It is so wildly popular. And I actually believe I have the audiobook of this. I did not realize though, when I got the audiobook or when I got this book, that this series isn't completed and it most likely is never going to be completed. So I'm not loving that. I don't love reading a series that like I might never inevitably be able to finish, but I've just heard so many good things about it. I also just like really like the way the book looks, and like I said, I got it in a little free library, so if I end up not loving it or not wanting to read it, it was free and I can just return it to the little library I got it in. The next two books I got, I thrifted. The first one is The Book Club for Troublesome Women. I have seen this everywhere, but I feel like I've heard nobody really talk about it. I feel like this and The Mad Wife, I get kind of confused, but I see this on so many people's shelves. So like I know people are reading it, but I don't know what people are saying. I also don't really know what it's about. For some reason, I feel like there's a book club. There is. Okay, I think, not it literally being in the title. Duh, there's a book club. So I think it's about like a group of women in the 60s who get together for a book club and then end up kind of like finding like a community within that. I think it's like kind of like deconstructing from like what they've been sold as this is like what you want as a woman in America in the 60s through these books. So yeah, really excited to get to this one. And then the next book I also thrifted. I actually have read this. This is a little shelf trophy for myself. This is Lessons in Chemistry. I read this maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I borrowed it from my library and I absolutely loved it. This is definitely on like my reread list. I honestly wish at the beginning of the year I would have done like how people do like yearly TBRs. I wish I would have done like a yearly reread list of maybe like 6 books that I wanted to reread that year, like one every other month, because I would love to reread this. The next book I bought new and I bought from Amazon, so you can absolutely talk crap on me in the comments. Amazon just gets you with the prices. It just gets you with prices. I think I paid $15 for this for a new hardback. Like, it's so hard to pass up, but I should not be doing that. This is The Names by Florence Knapp. This is currently on my TBR. I am so excited to get to this. Not only is the cover gorgeous, but the story is something that intrigues me so much. It basically follows a woman and her son, and they have a tradition in her husband's family for the son to always be given the husband's name, but he isn't like really a good person and she doesn't want to like speak that over her son. So we follow different timelines of what her and her son's life look like based on the name that she gives him. And I am so big into like speaking things over people and like words have meaning, especially with names. I love looking up the meaning of names. I think I'm really gonna like this. The next one is another little free library find and also a shelf trophy. I have been looking for this sucker for literal years. I thought this would be such an easy book to thrift. I feel like every thrift with me video I see, people find this in the thrift stores and I just could not find it. But I knew with how popular it was that I could. I was like, you just need to be patient, and I found it in a little free library. It is a little bit more beaten up than what I would typically thrift. But like I said, it was free in a little free library. Obviously, like I put a book in the library, but I still count that as free. This is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I read this a couple of years ago. I really, really like her Hollywood interconnected series. Her backlist isn't my favorite. I only have Forever Interrupted left on that. And Atmosphere wasn't my favorite either, so I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of scared to reread these because I'm worried that they're not gonna hold up to what they are in my head because I just read them at a different time of my life. The next book we have, also a shelf trophy. See, I didn't add that many to the TBR. Maybe I'll put at the end like how many are added onto my TBR and how many are not added onto my TBR. This one is another one I've really been wanting to do a reread of. This is Adelaide by Genevieve Wheeler. I read this one because it was actually a book of the month pick. And I saw so many people picking it, and I don't know if I've seen anybody actually like read it, but I saw so many people picking it when it was the option. And I bought this used on Amazon, which I will say I don't mind buying used books on Amazon. I feel like that just feels a little different, and you can get some really good deals. I think this was like $6 or $7, and I absolutely hate the paperback cover for this, and I knew I wanted the hardcover, so I bought it used. I just realized I was using my glasses as like a headband. That looked a little silly. This is following Adelaide. She's an American grad student living in England, and we basically follow her kind of finding herself while she's in this relationship with this boy named Rory. I absolutely loved this. I think if you like Tell Me Lies or just like the exploration of being in maybe an unhealthy relationship and kind of how you can grow from that and kind of how it also takes a lot out of you, I think you would really like this. Again, really want to do a reread of that. I absolutely love that book. This book I ended up actually buying because the wait at my library was so long, and then I got a skip the line copy offered literally like 2 days after I finished it. But I bought it from an independent bookstore that I'd never been to before, and I do love supporting independent bookstores when I go into them. This is The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. This book is so wildly popular right now, and I read it within a few days after I bought it. I really did like this one. Obviously, this isn't like a review video, but I feel like if I've read the book, I might as well tell you what I think of it. I really did like this one, and I would recommend it. It's just like a sweet book, and I also think it's a book that like anybody could like your mom would like, your grandma would like, and you would like it. I think everybody can take a little something from it. I also just think the cover is super cute, and this is one of those books where I feel like the US got a really good cover, and the UK / like Canada and Australia also got a good cover, but they're so different. I feel like their cover might be a little bit cuter, but I still like our cover. Then the next couple of books I actually got from my mom. She gave them to me. So the first one is Before I Do by Sophie Cousins. I feel like I've heard quite a bit of like rufflings about Sophie Cousins recently because of, I'll put a picture of the book on the screen because I cannot think of what it's called right now. I want to pick up a book by her. I do own This Time Next Year, but I believe that's like takes place on New Year's, so I'm not going to read it probably until the end of this year or the beginning of next year. And after I read Dial A for Aunties, I have just been like craving a good wedding like esque book. That was one of my favorite things about Dial A for Aunties, was just like being in that wedding setting. So Before I Do by Sophie Cousins. Don't really know what this one's about. I think there might be like, I think it has a complicated relationship storyline, which is why I think I want to go in blind, because I don't want to like already be like, these people are stupid before I even start the book. The next book my mom gave me is The Nightingale by Chris and Hannah. This is my book club's pick for the month of March and April. We do like a bi-monthly book club, so I absolutely need to get to this because book club is in like 7 days and I have not started it yet. I've read 2 other books by Chris and Hannah. I read Firefly Lane and The Women, and I think my qualm with her books is that I think that they're poorly advertised. I feel like I go into them with unrealistic expectations because of the way that they're marketed, and then I'm disappointed. Like, I feel like so many people said that Firefly Lane was such a good description of like female friendship, and I personally don't like when people associate female friendship with being toxic and screwing each other over, because I don't think that's true. I think that's a really negative, horrible stereotype. And I feel like in Firefly Lane, it just got to the point where like I just could not deal with Tully anymore. And then The Women, I thought we were gonna have a little bit more about the women in the war, and we just had a lot about our main character and all of her boyfriends, and that just really annoyed me. I actually have no expectations for this. Obviously I have like expectations that I'm going to like it because so many people love it, but I don't really know what it's about other than like it's World War II and there's two sisters. And I know that they're either on like different sides of the war or they just like feel differently about the way that like the war should be handled. Something like that. I don't know. I feel like it's good for me to go in with no expectations. The next two books I bought are, I think, the only other ones that I bought brand new. So only 3 of these were bought brand new, which I feel like is pretty good. And these were both books that have been on my list to get the physical copy of because I like supporting an author if I really love them, and I also just like having a physical copy of books that I really loved in case I want to reread them, I want to lend them out to someone, I want to go back through and look at quotes, all of that fun stuff. So the first one is It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan. She's my absolute favorite romance author. I love her so much. I have loved every single one of her books, and I just kind of completely forgot that I never picked up a copy of this when it came out. This is her book that she released last summer. This one wasn't my favorite by her, but I still did really enjoy it, and like I said, I just really like supporting authors that I really enjoy, so I definitely wanted my own copy of this. And then the other book I picked up is Give Me Butterflies by Jillian Meadows. I have not heard that many people talk about this book. I got the rec from Carter Sullivan. She loved this book, and I also loved this book. I think if you like the spicy, stemmy aspects of Ali Hazelwood, you would really like this. But if you also like how Abby Jimenez and Annabelle Monaghan usually have like a bit of a deeper, I don't want to say storyline, but like a lot of Ali Hazelwood books I feel like are like fun and fluffy. As with Annabelle Monaghan, they're often like going through a divorce, or they're a single mom, or they're like grappling with something that happened in their childhood. Do I just make up words? I don't know if that's a word. I think you would like this as well. I honestly want more people to read this. This is such a good book. I absolutely loved it. It's also like great for spring because our main character, she works in a museum. I mean, I know there's a word for it, but I'm not gonna guess what the word is. Where she works at a museum and she's basically like the head of the insects part of the museum. So like we talk a lot about like butterflies and like nature, and it's just like very springy. I really, really liked this one. Would definitely recommend. And then the rest of the books I have here, I got recently at a library sale. The way that my library does sales, if you guys want cheap books, call your library and ask if they do sales. A lot of libraries do weekly sales where they'll, every Tuesday you can like go and buy from their collection that they're selling. Or a lot of libraries, it's just done on like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a Good Samaritan trust, where you just like put the cash in and you can look around and then pay for your book, and there's not even anybody there. And then my library and a lot of other libraries also do weekly book sales where they'll have the book sale the entire week, and they try to like get rid of a ton of stuff because they just have too much. And that's what my library was doing. So it was fill a bag for $7. And what I try to do to keep purchases under a certain amount is once I find enough that I'm willing to pay $7 for, I get those, and then I might grab a couple more. I might not, but I don't force myself to like fill the bag to the brim. I used to do that, and that's how I've accumulated so many books that I just like no longer have an interest in. But if you want to try to spend less money on books or get used books, I would highly, highly recommend calling some of your local libraries and asking if they ever have book sales, because usually they are like stupid cheap. So these are all from the library sale. The first one is Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. I think this is more of like a collection of stories, but I had to read one of these for my college English class actually and like write something on it, and I really, really enjoyed it. He was basically born, I believe, some region in Africa where at the time, I'm not entirely sure if it's still like this, but at the time you could not marry or have kids with anyone outside of your race, and that was like illegal and you would go to jail for it. And he's biracial, so he was born a crime. I'm very excited for this. I feel like I've heard really, really good things about it. It seems pretty short, and I've honestly feel like I've been like eating up the nonfiction this year. The second book I got at the library sale is The Bee Sting. I wish I could remember who I saw post that like this book ruined them, or like this was like their favorite book so far this year. But I saw someone post about it, and then I like marked it on my Libby as like on my radar, and I saw it there, and I did not realize how stinking big this book is. I have no idea what this is about. Let's read the little blurb. Wow, this is a very pretty book. The Barnes family is in trouble. Dickie's once lucrative car business is going under, but Dickie is spending his days in the woods building an apocalyptic-proof bunker. His wife, Imelda, is selling off her jewelry on eBay, half-heartedly dodging the attention of the fast-talking cattle farmer Big Mike, while their teenage daughter, Cass, formerly top of her class, seems determined to binge drink her way through her final exams. As for 21-year-old PJ, he's on the brink of running away. If you wanted to change this story, how far back would you have to go? To the infamous bee sting that ruined Imelda's wedding day, to the car crash 1 year before Cass was born, all the way back to Dickie at 10 years old, standing in the summer garden with his father, learning how to be a real man. That sounds awful. The Bee Sting is an entertaining new novel, a portrait of post-crash Ireland, and a dazzling story about the struggle to be good at the end of the world. Okay, I don't feel like that told me a lot, but I am interested. Like I said, this thing is enormous. Oh my God. It's over 600 pages. It's enormous. So we might have to like duel that one with the audiobook so it doesn't feel so intimidating. Then I grabbed Bad Summer People. This I think came out last year or maybe 2 years ago. It's super short. I think it's like or do we call them domestic thrillers, where it's like a thriller but also kind of like a family drama-ish, where it's like not super thrilling. But I thought it would be fun to just add to my she has a little book stamp. Whoever donated this book to the library has a little book stamp. So cute. But I thought it would just be a fun little book to add to my summer TBR. It's been on my radar. It's super quick. And then we have Sweet Bitter. This one I believe follows like a girl in her 20s kind of trying to like make it in New York, and she basically finds herself kind of in this like socialite group, and we just kind of like follow her through. I think it's just like a coming of age in New York. I honestly don't love to know like a ton about books before going into them because I think sometimes the blurb can just give away a lot. Let me know if any of you have read this. I feel like I used to see this cover all the time, but like I don't know why because I don't know anything about it. The next book I've never heard of. The cover, guys, this was a cover grab for me. This is called The Most Dangerous Place on Earth by Lindsay Lee Johnson, and I believe we're following a couple of high schoolers, and I think it's just like a drama. Let's see what it says. Written with the rare talent capable of turning teenage drama into urgent adult fiction, The Most Dangerous Place on Earth makes vivid a modern adolescent lived in the gleam of the virtual but rich. Why does that not make any sense? That makes no sense. What? Can I not read? The Most Dangerous Place on Earth makes vivid a modern adolescent lived in the gleam of the virtual but rich with sorrow, passion, and humanity. Is it just me or does that sentence not make any sense? I feel like that sentence doesn't make any sense. But I think this is just like a drama about high school, but I believe it's an adult novel. So I'm honestly not really sure. Again, it was the cover. I just love the cover. I think the cover is so fun. And then our last book here, another cover by, but it's just so gorgeous. It's called The Map of Salt and Stars. Such a pretty cover. This one is in the summer of 2011. Just after Noor loses her father to cancer, her mother moves her and her sisters from New York back to Syria to be closer to their family. In order to keep her father's spirit alive, as she adjusts to her new home, Noor tells herself their favorite story. The tale of a 12th century girl who disguised herself as a boy in order to apprentice herself to the famous map maker. But the Syria Noor's parents knew is changing, and it isn't long before the war reaches their quiet neighborhood. When a stray shell destroys Noor's home and almost takes her life, she and her family are forced to choose: stay and risk more violence, or flee across 7 countries of the Middle East and North Africa in search of safety. I just feel like that sounds so good, and the cover is so beautiful, and I really want to start just like diversing the kind of books I'm reading. I feel like I read a lot about like sisterhood, motherhood, womanhood, written by like white American authors, which makes sense because obviously I'm going to relate to that. I am a sister, I'm becoming a mom, I'm a woman, white in America. Like obviously I'm going to relate to those stories, but I just feel like I'm reading a lot of that, and that's really like the only literary fiction that I read, and I really want to start just like diversifying the stories that I'm picking up. And yeah, so I thought this would be a good pick. That's the last book I have to show you guys. Let me know if you guys have read any of these, especially like the 7 or the 6, however many I got from the library sale, because I have heard, I feel like, the least amount of those. So let me know like what I should pick up next, what I should like make high up on my radar for my TBR. Also, I hope you guys got a rec from this, because like I said, I read probably about maybe half of these. So hopefully you guys got like a good book recommendation from this video. But that is all I have for you guys today. These are the 16 or 17 books that I have accumulated in the first quarter of the year. Hopefully we do a little bit better the next quarter. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.